Hello guys and welcome to our first game, week number 2 of the Smite Oceanic Pro League. I am Husey and joining me today is Rank.
Well, hello Shusey, game number 1 of week number 2, day number 1. This is the year of 2015, it's the 1st of August over here in Australia. Do I need to add any more stats, or is that about it?
I think we're probably good.
Okay.
I think we might have got it all covered there. Yeah, so we're in Australia, planet Earth, Southern Hemisphere. I think we're covered. So this first game I'm bringing you today is going to be between Team Kamikaze and the Direwolves. So a very interesting matchup. The series currently stands throughout competitive Smite as 2-1 in favor of the Direwolves. So Team Kamikaze looking for some redemption today. In terms of last week, Direwolves started out their season strong with a 2-0 victory against Law Gaming. Team Kamikaze not so strong, went 0-2 against the Chiefs. So hopefully we can see an interesting matchup between these two teams today.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good showing by the Chiefs last week. They managed to one-up them. Interesting as we get into our pick and ban phase here. Focus away from Bologna. I do expect to see a lot of... Bologna is actually going to get through a lot more on this patch. You've got to remember that the focus is back towards that little bit more mobility. Bologna, not quite as mobile anymore. But with the Fenrir ban, you can tell straight off the board that TCAM, they really want to get Ratatosco. And I really think from the side of the Direwolves, they've got to ban it away here.
Yeah, Bologna definitely needs to be banned away because it can be played in so many different positions. You can put it in the solo lane, you can put it in jungle. We saw from Paradigm in the summer finals, they were playing that in the support role quite a lot. I think as well as that, you're going to see a lot of Ratatosca banned and Sylvanas. Sylvanas having an extremely high win rate throughout the SPL. He brings just a lot to the table in terms of hard CC as well as healing. He's just a very hard support to counter. And so, yeah, we can see that banned out from the side of Team Kamikaze and Bologna being banned from the Direwolves. So some pretty expected bans in those regards.
We're also expecting both of these junglers to look for, again, back to that analysis, we were looking for something sticky. Alquang's got enough staying power, he's got enough burst as well. It's not as sticky as something else, say like a Bastet who's got a slow and she's going to make sure that she keeps on top of you, but it's enough. Interesting to see the Bastet coming through. That's something we haven't seen for a little while, and this patch, it's a little bit different, but again, she does have a nice amount of mobility.
Yeah, so just to recap our final bans, Fenrir and Ratatosca were banned, so you really don't want to give up Ratatosca without having that Fenrir counter pick. We had a first pick Alquang on the side of Team Kamikaze. Now, Alquang's seeing a lot of play recently throughout not only the SPL, but also through Oceanic matches. He provides a lot in the way of burst damage, and his execute at 30% health is just insane. You can counter it with beads and a Geb and an Aegis and all that kind of stuff. But it's also another flex pick. You can play it in the solo lane. We saw Cyclone Spin from AFK play that in the solo lane where he did get a pentakill. But as I said as well, jungle is where he shines because of his mobility and just his sheer amount of damage he can output. Towards the Direwolves, as we said, we've got an Athena and Bastet combo coming out. So once again, flex picks seem to be the flavor of the day. Athena can be played all across the map. I think I've seen her played in every single role except for AD carry, and I just think that's because no one's been brave enough yet. But support, mid lane, jungle, solo, she goes really anywhere. For the Direwolves, I expect that to either be a support or a jungle pick, though.
Or a jungle, well, we're actually going to get a Shibalonke pick coming through from Rotten Melons at this stage. They'll be going over towards Laney on the side of the Direwolves. So they're going to get Shibalonke and Athena. This is going to be an interesting sort of pair-up. I like this. I really, really like this because Athena's able to help clear the waves early on. And what it does as well is it buys Shibalonke the ability to get into that late game, and Bastet can set up to get some kills over on that side of the map. So if it's set up to the right point, with the tick coming through from the poison darts and the tick coming through from Bastet, Shibalonke can pick up an early kill. Athena's really good at picking up those early kills and whatnot. They can put a lot of pressure over here. The trouble is that it's into a Medusa, a Geb, and an Alquang. But at the same time, we've got the same sets of picks coming through. Shibalonke is going to significantly struggle into a Medusa pick, but not so with the Geb. It's less harassing, and Athena's going to be able to help him out significantly. So Direwolves have got themselves some nice, comfortable picks in that duo lane.
Shibalonke as well, he's very late game, and that's what you need to play in this new meta, where games tend to go quite into that late game because of the devaluing of early kills and early gold furies. It just makes sense to build towards that late game. Alquang as well, being extremely late game when he can get all of his magical power out and onto you. You know, we've seen him take people from 100 to 0 before. That happens. And, you know, I mean, balance is a thing. Obviously not in Smite, but, you know, it's a thing sometimes out there. The Medusa and Geb picks, I really like that from Team Kamikaze. Medusa provides a lot in the way of team fights, as does Geb. Geb, another one of those kind of late game gods. His shield as well will nullify a lot of damage that the Direwolves can put out, especially the cats coming from Bastet. But the team fight disruption from Geb and Medusa is excellent. Medusa, she uses that Petrify. You know, you get a good Geb Cataclysm off into a Petrify, and you can just absolutely ruin the other team. Moving on from those picks now, our final bans will be Agni for Team Kamikaze and Janus from the side of the Direwolves. Now, Janus really coming into high priority here in Season 2.1, as I like to call it, allows your team a lot of mobility across the map, and you can put out a lot of damage in that kind of that mid-game period.
Yeah, he's a lot more utility focused in and around this mid lane. And actually, when we were chatting pre-stream with the players that we hear between Chilled and Nickcrick, they were actually saying that TCAM were actually starting to play a lot more utility towards the mid lane. So I was expecting if they were going to play a Giannis, it was going to be towards the mid lane. Obviously, Direwolves prepping, knowing that they're playing a lot more utility with, you know, they're banning away that Giannis. That's something that he's been playing exceptionally. But what that does do, that leaves him on his favored Kronos. Kronos is Divine's favorite god. The trouble with running it mid is that you have to prep for it. It's a hyper carry. It's something that you play late game. Yada, very much able to play it for the Direwolves if they did want to pick it away. But obviously they're like, okay, you take Kronos. You take Kronos. We've already got Poseidon in the mid lane. Poseidon, if Poseidon gets the combo down, he's dead. Even if he hits that rewind, he's still dead. I really like the Poseidon into Kronos matchup. I'm going to be interested. Divine picked it into this one. So that's that's saying, hey, he wanted to pick it. He's going to have to pull something out. But look at that duo lane as well coming through finally from the Direwolves. They're going to actually run an Ares at the support, and the Athena's going to be the jungle. So L Giggles, as he likes to be known, is going to be running Athena in the jungle. This is something he defaults back to after his assassin picks as well.
I love the Ares pick. I love it. For Rotten Melons, it's one of his favorite support characters, and an Ares into Poseidon combo is just dirty. We've all seen that played before. Interestingly, an interesting matchup brewing in the solo lane. It's going to be oh wait, no, that's an Osiris jungle. That's an Osiris jungle from Team Kamikaze and Alkwong solo. So the Alkwong solo against Bastet. That's a little bit of that's a great flex pick there from Direwolves because they had the Athena Bastet, and it was up to Team Kamikaze as to what they were going to put in the solo, and then they could kind of flex those picks as sooner because Bastet really counters Alkwong, especially with her cats and all the tick damage she does. The Osiris jungle, I'm very curious to see this one in action. Now, we mentioned precast that both of these junglers like to pick junglers that will stick to you and do damage over time rather than necessarily bursty junglers. And Osiris really sticks to you well. He's got some slows. If you stand in his binding wraps long enough, you will get stunned out. You know, you get your healing taken away from his ultimate. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. The Athena pick as well in the jungle will set up a lot for Kikyo Mio in the mid lane with Poseidon, and just the amount of team fight potential for both these teams is pretty immense. But I'm really liking Direwolves combo going into this one.
It's interesting as well. You mentioned El Chuckles is actually on the Athena for the Bastet. Bastet, obviously, a very, very good counter pick into the solo lane Alkwong. But in this sort of a combo, Kikyo Mio on the Poseidon, I like it towards the mid lane. I really like the combos that they're able to put down. So Yada's going to have to rotate a lot earlier, which means that they're going to look for a lot more Gold Furies and whatnot, but they don't have a huge deal of sustain. They don't have a Ra on their side. There's no real heals. The Geb is in the opposite corner, so they've got no shields or anything like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they manage that. They're going to need to force fights early, and then they're relying on Xbalanque late. But look at Team Kamikaze as well. They're relying on Kronos in the latter portions of the game. They've still got a Medusa there as well.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, and we'll be bringing you all the action we've just talked about right after this. Hello and welcome to game number 1 of week 2 of the Smite Oceanic Pro League between Team Kamikaze and the Direwolves. I am Husey, and joining me for this match is Ranconius.
Well, Husey, it is going to be an unbelievable match. Kamikaze and the Direwolves teams, especially Kamikaze, kind of on a high. They've been playing decently. They did obviously go down the Chiefs last week, but Direwolves are currently missing their famed support Ares main, but they've got another one, Rotten Melons, which is all well and good. So, Husey, take us down the Kamikaze roster.
Alright, so on the left side of your spectator UI, fighting under the blue health bars, we have got Team Kamikaze. Your solo lane will be Tompo on the Dragon King Ao Kuang. Your jungler, will be Liquid Renegade on Osiris. Mid lane now, we've got Divine on the Kronos, and your duo lane will be composed of Magnet and Redoxide on Geb and Medusa.
Well, coming through to us on the side of the Direwolves, that is Bastet in the solo lane. It's going to be played by Yada, El Chuckles, or El Giggles, whichever one you like to refer to him as. It's going to be on the Athena in the jungle. Kikiomeo is the Master of the Water in the mid lane on Poseidon. Rotten Melons and Just Laney will round out your duo lane on Ares, and of course your Shibalonke as well.
Take a look towards the right side of the map, Rank. You can see that they've got 2 wards there, do the Direwolves, in the buffs of Team Kamikaze, so they're going to know exactly what start Kamikaze are going to be doing this game.
Yeah, but they've invested a little bit of gold, so, you know, they're not going to have those wards a little bit later on, so it'll be interesting to see who they pick them up from. The only person that could have picked them up was El Chuckles as well, so he's invested in those wards and only in those wards. Look at the starting items coming out from Yada as well. He's gone straight into the Charge Morningstar. He's going to be picking up a Transcendence as early as possible for that huge power spike, so no Death Toll to build up mana. He's going to rely quite heavily on this mana buff in the early portions of the game, and look at the start from Kamikaze as well. They're going for mid camps.
Yes, so the Direwolves also took the left-hand side mid-camp. Both these mid laners going to be without their red buff before the start of this game, so it shouldn't cause too much of a difficulty, both of these teams having missed out on that buff. But with the mid-camps going so early, as we've seen now they spawn at 10 seconds, it's going to provide for some interesting lane dynamics later when the spawners of these 2 camps do reset.
It actually plays significantly into the hands of Divine as well, because he's now already level 3, he's that hyper carry, Fools is only level 2, and Renegade is already level 3 as well. They're both going to be able to go over and get their red buff camps, so there's actually a slightly earlier level 5 on Liquid Renegade, which is always handy. He's going to be able to get in there, get his combos going, which is always fantastic. Chuckles, the roaming support, basically Guardian on the Athena, isn't going to be 100% as effective. He needs to wait for that ultimate to come online for a counter gank. But once it does, he's going to have a lot more pressure.
Exactly right. We can see in the left-hand side lane, Just Laney and Rotten Melons getting pushed out previously a little bit by Redoxide and Magnet, but you would expect that from Medusa to outpush a Shibalonke just a little bit better wave clear with the Acid Spray towards the mid lane. Kikiomeo getting extremely low, and down he goes. That is first blood to the side of Team Kamikaze. Divine picking that one up there with the Time Rift. So excellent play there. We know he loves him some Kronos, and he's showing us why.
Yeah, and that's a red buff gone off Kikiomeo as well, so he's not going to have that one to assist in early wave clearing. He is a Poseidon, so he will manage to deal that one. Not too bad. The other thing is now he's not got as much level 5 kill potential straight out of the gate, so keep your eyes on that. He needs to make sure that he's fine. Left-hand side of the map, Melons is getting quite low as well.
Yeah, so he's taking a lot of lane damage there from the minions. He did kind of stand in the middle of the lane and just absolutely bathe the opposition in fire. Took a lot of archer hits from that, but he got some good pressure on towards Magnet and Redoxide. Forced out a couple of pots there, just to help, maybe set up a kill later on in the game. Over towards the solo lane, Yada and Tompo going at it quite heavily. The kitty cats are popped from Yada. Tompo taking a lot of damage there. He's getting down quite low, but the cats are gonna die off here just before Tompo does fall, so Yada unable to pick up a kill there. His kitty cats are expended. He's on quite low health. He needs to be careful here because Tompo will hit level 5 soon, get close enough to use their execute, and bye-bye Yada.
Yeah, he's going to be really careful. Level 5 online already for Tompo. Yada's just going to have to play it passive. He is almost level 6, so he's going to get a little bit more of a top-up back onto his life bar again. Coming towards the mid lane, Magnet's looking for that second set of spawns in the mid lane camps. They're going to go for the left-hand side of things. As it is, they're just about to spawn. Great timings from Kamikaze. That's just prep work. That's understanding the map, and they've done it extremely well. Kikiomeo's going to show up and just see 2 Harpies die. Yeah,
so that was really good kind of shot calling there. They knew that the Direwolves had started the left-hand side mid-camp, so they knew what the timer was going to be approximately when that spawns. Chuckles is here now beside the right-hand mids, and so he's going to know that they have just spawned. So we're going to see a bit of a fight here. Maybe some pressure coming on. Rotten Melons blinks it, actually gets the no escape off. Magnet and iDivine both use their ultimates. Actually, no, iDivine uses his beats to get out of that one. Crack it lands on towards Magnet. He's getting extremely low now. There's the shield wall from Chuckles. Melons baiting him in fire, but Chuckles picks up the first kill for the Direwolves. Here comes Yada on the backline, though. Going into iDivine, he uses his reverse time to try and get out of it, but on the backside, Rotten Melons getting extremely low.
Yeah, look at Rotten Melons. He's so low. They will manage to pick up the laner of Team Kamikaze and iDivine, but now Tompo's on the right-hand side. I think he wants to come in towards this one. He's forced to use that water illusion, try and buy him some space. Will not get torn up by El Chuckles, and it's going to be 3 kills in advantage of the Direwolves of the one of Team Kamikaze. They got first blood a little bit earlier on, so, you know, it's not as huge as a lead as you might expect, but the important part is the fact that the Direwolves just took the opposition blue buff.
Yeah, and that's going to deny Po a lot of his mana, which is really important for an Alcon. His passive does allow him to use skills without mana. He can use them 3 times if he's got charge left on his blade. But, you know, if you use a skill, the passive goes down as well. So, you know, he really needs that blue buff, and he's going to be forced to back here, even though he's on relatively high health. Towards the duo lane, we've not really heard much out of that side of the map in this part of the early game. We won't really expect to between a Xbalanque and a Medusa. Redoxide, if he gets some lane pressure, may look for a kill, but just laning as an early game Xbalanque, not really going to look to do terribly much at this stage in the match.
Something I just noticed as well is that in the mid lane, Divine has opted to go in for that Soul Stone, so he did have a lot more burst potential. That's why we actually saw the kill potential over Kikiyomi, who went for the more sustain option, the Vampiric Shroud. Take a look at the left-hand side of the map and the builds over there as well. Transcendence, double Transcendence is coming through from the Direwolves, one on Xbalanque, one going to be on Yada's Bastet as well. And the reason for this, right, look at the composition that they're building. Transcendence offers the best power of any item in the game, and it gives you to it nice and early as well. Scales up over the course of the game, so it's still relevant, and with those stacks as well. But they want to get those early kills, and then Xbalanque comes online. Then he's the only hunter that can hit as hard. He's just, there is nothing like a Xbalanque when he's got power buff, when he has his one toggled on the branching bowlers. He's got his passive stacked up to 6. He is the strongest hitting. He will have the highest physical power of any god in the game, and that's all stacked up with a Transcendence online as well.
Yeah. Speaking of Xbalanque, just laning, taking quite a bit of poke there from Redoxide's Venom Spray, or Acid Spray, I forget. But, you know, managing to back off quite alright, but he's got to be careful in this early game that it doesn't give up too many kills to Redoxide, if any of it all. And over in the solo lane, we can see Yada getting extremely low. There's the execute from Tompo, and down he goes into the Dragon's Belly. Down does the Kitty Cat Lady from Yada, but towards the mid lane, Kikiyomi being aggressed upon by Liquid Renegade.
Good thing that Yada is the cat and Tompo not the cat, because, you know, cat might get a little bit sketchy on what it wants to eat. And they're very indecisive cats. Glad that it's Tompo did get the kill and started the feeding train and eats like that as well, because, you know, Yada, he might have just thrown it back up.
It's important as well for an Alcon to get some early kills. Liquid Renegade getting taunted in nicely there by Chuckles onto a whirlpool of Kiki. And the mid-camp's fallen the way there of Team Kamikaze. There is the Xbalanque ultimate, Darkest of Nights, to try and look for something there for his team. Unfortunately, not going to be able to find anything. Chuckles, yeah, as I said, got a nice one, but here comes Rotten Melons, blinging to the mid and gets the no escape off. There's the Geb shield, there's the shield wall from Chuckles, there's the Kraken, down goes Magnet to Kikiyomi. Melons is stunned in place. Liquid Renegade's going in hard. Melons should fall down here. The wrap is on him, but Liquid Renegade might pay for that kill with his life, as here comes
Piggy's
Chuckles.
Got
Oh, no, Chuckles is ulting out. Ulting towards the duo lane now.
Because there's no mana in Redoxide. Redoxide's in a world of trouble. He's going to get taunted back in. The branching bowlers, everything's there. And it is going to be the shield wall's explosion from Chuckles that's going to do it. Redoxide burned his entire mana bar trying to shove up as he'd shove Laney out of lane. As soon as he gets back, Laney's got the upper hand and he finds a kill with the aid of Chuckles.
That was a great call there from Direwolves.
Oh!
There was potential over in the solo lane onto Liquid... in that mid lane still towards Liquid Renegade, but...
Tompo's in trouble to the cats. Will manage to get the execute to the Wildstorm. Sorry to interrupt you there, Hughes.
That's alright. No, wow, look at his health. He's nearly dead. But yeah, there was potential on Liquid Renegade, but it was going to be diving a tower. It would be very difficult. Laney made the call. Redoxide was out of mana. Chuckles just ulted over, taunted him, and it was important to get that Xbalanque, just get him ahead a little bit. Get him through the early game, get him to that late game where he can start, as you mentioned earlier, hitting like a semi-trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it also comes back down to build routes on that left-hand side of the lane. You look at Redoxide, he's got Div Gauntlets. And Laney's just base, you know? This is the trouble, is that if you do opt to go into a Dev's Gauntlets build, you're gonna run out a little bit of mana trying to shove that out. Bluestone Pendant did buy you some nice time, but of course with its recent nerfs, it's nowhere anywhere near that sort of stuff. And a Medusa as well. Death-Toll, yeah, you're not auto-attacking all the time. Most of your wave clear comes from the acid spray, so you don't get a huge deal back from the Death-Toll. So you've got to manage a heck of a lot better. Magnet, I feel, needs to be on this left-hand side of the map more than Rotten Melons will be, and that'll open Rotten Melons up to making a bunch more plays as well.
The Magnet is in a very difficult situation in this map because he kind of needs to be everywhere at once. He needs to be towards the mid lane, you know, to put those Geb shields on when Kikimir decides to release the Kraken. He needs to be in the duo lane to help Redoxide get kill potential against Just Laney. It's a really difficult role to play, is support. I don't necessarily agree with Redoxide's building of Devourer's Gauntlets. As you mentioned, he uses a lot of abilities to clear the wave, whereas Xyvalanque is more auto-attack based. I think Redoxide just wanted some early sustain, but he was going to be out-clearing Laney in the early game anyway, so it's not terribly much.
No escape in the mid lane. Magnet's going to get grabbed on in. The Kraken was already down as well. There it is. Comes right down now. Chuckles is there. Is going to secure that kill. And the Direwolves are going to take themselves one kill and then get the heck out of here. They could look for something. They've got the health bars, but on the right-hand side of the map as well, Yada with the kitty cats gets a kill.
Yeah, so Tompo soloed there by Yada the Cats. This is the reason why Bastet does so well against Ao Kwong. In the mid lane, we were just talking about the rotations necessary from both of these support players. Rotten Melons can really be more of the aggressor in this matchup with his no escapes. It just synergizes so well with the Athena taunts and with the Krakens from Poseidon. It's why Melons he's a little bit underfarmed at the moment compared to Magnet, despite the fact that he's been a part of 5 kills. It's just because he hasn't been able to be in lane with his dual lane partner, or even in the mid lane, getting some farm. He's just been necessary around there to get some kills. Over in the solo lane, Liquid Renegade bursting down Yada a fair bit there, just whacking him with those sickles, but Chuckles ulties over to try and save him, and Yada does get out of right. Liquid Renegade sees that Defender of Olympus coming down and wisely backs off.
And it's also down to the build routes as well coming through from those supports, as we just touched on that again. Look at Rotten Melons, he's opted to go for the Mark of the Vanguard and Shoes of Focus, so he hasn't got a lot of protection. He's got a lot of health, he's got a lot more stats, but the healing and the movement speed, it's a lot better, as well as the gold generation on the side of Kamikaze support in Magnet. He's going to be able to get more stats online quicker from just sitting around and doing nothing because he's got that gold generation online.
Exactly right, and so this Geb transitions really well into the late game. So getting that early farm will be important. We can see he's actually 2 levels ahead of Rotten Melons, which is not what you would expect given the way this game has been going, 7-4 in the way of the Direwolves. I'm a big fan of this Chuckles Athena. He's been doing tremendous work for his team. He's 4-0-2 at the moment. He's been hitting some nice taunts for his team, and he's also been securing kills with that shield wall. And we can see him rotating over to the duo lane now.
Yeah, and he's going to look for some more pressure down on towards Redoxide. Redoxide's forced to back away once again. Got sustain in hand, but he's a half mana bar, so he's got to be a little bit careful. Rotten Melons playing in the wings as well. And look at Kiki. He's immediately just like, I want to rotate this way. But Divine, he wants to put some pressure on towards Tompo. Tompo's gotten jumped on here. Might shot the cats down, does do so. Tompo's incredibly low. Can those cats finish him off? Oh, they're close. They're close. One more. It's got it. And now Divine's in trouble as well.
Yeah, Divine, with the rotation, not exactly getting to where Tompo was on time, but Chuckles uses the Defender of Olympus to come over. There's the rewind from Divine, but Yada just jumps down at him, puts him with his cat claws, and down goes the Cronus that is Divine. Now Melons is rotating over, doesn't quite spot out Liquid Renegade, but gonna look to secure this blue buff.
Well, he's got eyes on Liquid Renegade right there, and there's a 3-on-1. Renegade's going to risk it all if he wants that blue buff, and I don't think he can get it. And that is another blue buff denied away from the Kamikaze solo laner and Tompo. He really wanted that blue buff to get himself back into this game, get himself farming up. Not able to do it, and that's just some fantastic rotations from Direwolves. And again, let's go back to what we mentioned in the pregame. Chuckles, kill score, 404. Direwolves total kills, 9. He's missed out on 1. He's keeping that kill participation stat high, but mid lane.
Yeah, so Rotten Melons getting some nice chains there onto Liquid Renegade. There's the shield coming out of the Geb that is Magnet to avoid those chains doing any more tick damage. And looks like Direwolves want to make some aggression here. Rotten Melons has got his Blink No Escape up. As soon as the Team Kamikaze groups effectively, he's going to be looking to go in, and here he goes right now.
Yeah, down comes the ultimate from Divine, so he's got no healing, but he did get the CC immunity. That's what it was about. Magnet's in a little bit of trouble. He's been the focus so far. Liquid Renegade's at half health as well. They're going to look for the stop time. It's only on a Chuckles, and that will not signal a re-engage. And look what's happened on the left-hand side of the map. Laney's been left with a lane all of his own, and he's farming up over that Medusa.
He definitely is, and the wardage on the left-hand side of the map is in favour of the Direwolves at the moment. They've got 2 sentry wards, one of them on the Gold Fury compared to Team Kamikaze's one, which leads to an aggressive route into their duo lane. Here comes Redoxide looking to kind of save some tower damage at this point, and it's going to be extremely difficult for Redoxide to recover from this pressure.
Yeah, and he's the one that should have had the pressure. That's what you're going to remember, right? There's been a kill over there in favor of Laney with thanks to Chuckles, so he's doing quite well for himself. He's now up to 3 assists, and there's no Redoxide numbers on the scoreboard at all. None whatsoever. He is not on the scoreboard yet, and he needs to be. He's got that ultimate, that Petrify. It's such a huge teamfight turner in the early game. And with the composition that they're up against, the Xbalanque in the duo lane was a really, really perfect draft. The reason that you're seeing the Medusa coming through from Team Kamikaze was that they already had the Athena on board, the Mage Your Look combo, and they did not want the Direwolves to have it.
Another advantage that the Xbalanque has over the Medusa is he can use his ultimate and gain an assist from that, gain some of that assist money to get himself just a little bit more through that early game period where he struggles a little bit. We've got a grouping around the left-hand side. Mid-camps now. Chuckles doesn't hit a taunt there. Divine misses his stop time as well, but there's Melons blinking to the back line. He's got Divine and Magnet. There's the Geb Shield from Magnet. He's caught in a whirlpool, taking a lot of damage, but Liquid Renegade in the back line is hitting Kikimio. There's a nice Petrify from Redoxide. Down goes Kikimio, but he manages to take Liquid Renegade down to the depths with him with that Poseidon Crack, and Tombo getting extremely low as he rotates now as well. Melons looking for some more damage with his chains, but both teams going to disengage off of this, and it looks like the Direwolves are going for the Gold Fury.
Yeah, well, they've got the higher health bars at this point in time. Redoxide's got nothing. Only ultimate online is that of the Cats, and that of El Chuckles is it's only going to be Divine's ultimate and Tompo's, so only healing, not a huge amount of damage. They're looking to focus on towards Divine. He's forced to burn that ultimate already. Direwolves did secure the Gold Fury. Look at the Cats. They're burning through Divine. He's dead. He's gone. It's just a matter of time, and there it is. Clicks onto the kill score, and wow, look at the Direwolves thus far. And look at, once again, we're just going to go back to it again. Look at El Chuckles. 4-0-6, 10 out of 11. He is back on for that stat to continue.
Yeah, and if we look towards our graphs now after that Gold Fury, it's a 6,200 XP difference, 3,300 gold difference in the favor of the Direwolves, so getting themselves through the early game pretty comfortably up to this point. A nice couple of kills from Team Kamikaze, but Direwolves really dictating the terms of this match.
Take a look at the level difference in our solo laners, and take a look at the player damage at this point in time as well. There's 3 levels the difference between Yada and Tompo. It was 4 at the end of that fight. It was 4. Tompo's just grabbed it back. But 10k already up for Yada. He's got so much better lane trading. Tompo is sitting at the bottom of his team. It's a rough lane. Yes, it's a counter pick, but he's been able to, up until sort of the last 5 minutes, he's been trading rather well in his lane. It's been going pretty even, but then Yada's been able to rotate, and his team have been rotating a lot better, and that's the composition that Direwolves built, and this is back to when the, let's throw back to when they were still called Slap and Tickle. This is what we would see from them, this exact sort of composition. It's back. It wasn't quite there in the Invitational League, but it's back now.
Yeah, just one interesting point about the player damage. It's just changed here briefly with Liquid Renegade getting a couple of hits onto Kiki. But everyone on the Direwolves had more player damage than everyone on Team Kamikaze, which has just changed, but it was a very interesting stat right after that fight. Team Kamikaze, they need to be doing more at this stage. They're playing an alright game, but you can't play an alright game against a team like the Direwolves. You've got to really stick it to them from the outset. Especially with the Alcorn. Tombo's made some nice rotations, but he hasn't really found terribly much. He's got 1 solo kill onto Yada, and then 2 that's no assists. He hasn't really contributed too much to the team fights, which is where this Alcorn is a little bit iffy for me in the solo lane.
Check
because
the rotations. They're going to go left-hand lane. The focus is on towards Redoxide. They're looking for taunts. The bees have been preemptively forced. They're trying to dive in underneath this tower, but it's really, really rough. And now the Geb's here. That's a lot of problems for them. Melons is in trouble. We'll manage to get out of there. And the Direwolves go really ham looking for some kills. Divine's going to rotate over here as well.
Yeah, Divine going to look to start something here, but Yada is behind him, and he's going to be obviously a lot scared of those cats coming out from Yada. They do a tremendous amount of damage, and as a Kronos, you know, obviously not the most durable of characters. He does have a lot of survivability, obviously, with his Rewind ultimate, but you know, you really don't want to have to use that unnecessarily. You'd like to save that for a team fight. You'd like to save it for Rotten Melons' No Escape. But this duo left-hand side tier 1, probably going to go down here. Liquid Renegade and Magnet looking to contest it a little bit, but there's just 4 members of Rivals here, and they can't really contest it. Here comes Divine and Tompo, though. Divine going to be looking to be the one to initiate here. He uses his stop time, but doesn't find anyone.
Yada's in a little bit of trouble, gets knocked up. He's going to get the pounce out of there, though. What can he do? Liquid Renegade still looking for engage. He's going to chase in. There's the ultimate, trying to get onto multiple members, but Renegade's in trouble. He's half health already.
Yeah, Melon's just going to melt him here. Doesn't manage to pick up the kill. Divine doing a lot of damage with that auto attack. Tompo, look for some damage onto Yada. He doesn't fight it. Yada jumps in, uses the razor, there's the catch. They're hitting back. He's going to go down here to Kiki Amir. Another kill for that Poseidon. Divine uses the rewind to get out, but he's behind all of the Direwolves and away from the rest of his team. A bad position to be in, but he does a ton of damage there to Melons and Kiki Amir, but Chuckles does too much damage as well. Down he goes, another kill for Kiki Amir.
Oh, Tompo
still hanging around. The tick damage from Yada. It's gonna be enough. And he goes.
Gold Fury shouldn't be all that far away from memory here as well. It's only about a minute away, so there's enough time to respawn. But the ward coverage, if they want to go for it, Chuckles is going to box out with Renegade and actually win out fairly well there. That's a nice play. They pick up a tower, they rotate, they've got the aggressive comp. Now at 15 and 5, there's 6k in the advantage here, Shuzi. We're 20 minutes in, 6k at this point in time. That's a lot. Look at the items coming through for these guys.
If we look towards Just Laney, we can see he's got an Ancient Blade that's going to be going towards a Hasten Fatalis, which he does right now. That's going to give him so much mobility in those team fights and boxing in lane. Redoxstar's going to have a lot of trouble handling that. He is going towards his own Hasten Fatalis, but I think it's a much better pick on the Jubilanke, who, as you mentioned before, does a ton of damage with his autos and the branching bowlers. It's just going to really benefit Direwolves more at this point. What we need to see from Team Kamikaze is that they've been counter-initiating rather than initiating in these fights. We did see a little bit of that towards the start of that last fight, where Liquid Renegade went in with his Lord of the Afterlife, but the positioning wasn't there for the rest of his team. Redoxstar wasn't in a great position to use his Petrify and really get a lot of slows or even hard CC onto the Direwolves, and Direwolves were just able to turn that one too quickly and burst down the front line of Team Kamikaze before they could really get anything rolling.
Yeah, and something else that just happened as well is that the Direwolves just went through and cleared out the entire jungle of Kamikaze. Another blue buff denied away. They might have been able to pick up the speed there as well. So they're picking up advantages here. Kamikaze, they haven't really won enough fights or anything to take an advantage off, and there's been nothing to do so. Direwolves have gotten this first gold. Sure, yeah, it wasn't up when they won that last fight, but they prepped for it. They cleared out buffs. They got the ward coverage. Look at how many wards there are leading into this gold fury. There's one access point that they can't see, and Redoxside's walk through it. And will back off as soon as he sees that one drop.
And yeah, down goes the gold tree. That's the second one to fall the way of the Direwolves. Yada looking to find something here onto Team Kamikaze, but there's 3 of them around and just one of him. He does have 3 kitty cats to deploy if he needs them, but he's going to back off here. Chuckles going for his speed buff, but yeah, as he mentioned, the ward coverage from Direwolves has been tremendous this game. The map control has allowed them to roam at will. It's allowed Chuckles to get across the map without having to use his Defender of Olympus, to be those initiators that they like to be, the aggressive playstyle that typified Slap and Tickle before they were sponsored by Direwolves. And Team Kamikaze, they just haven't been able to respond in the same way. It's extremely hard to ward when you're behind, but it's necessary. You need to have that map control to claw yourself back in this one. And it's going to be a struggle for Team Kamikaze to really do much from this point onwards.
They're looking to focus out on towards Just Laney on the left-hand side for now, but he swats the gank out quite early and will not be pushing too far up this time around. He's going to base off. That's fantastic. There's some really nice positioning coming through from the Direwolves. They're not able to be caught at the moment by Kamikaze, as hard as Kamikaze are trying.
Yeah, exactly right. And now it's the Direwolves' turn to rotate onto Redoxside. Chuckles going to dash in, manages to get a great taunt. Beads are burnt from Redoxside. Here comes Magnet to try and give his duo lane partner a shield. Knocks up nicely onto Chuckles there, but the Direwolves, they are out. The Wolves are hunting and they want some blood. Kiki Omeo going to clean up this left-hand side lane. And in goes Chuckles onto Magnet, gets a nice taunt. Redoxside is a little bit low here. Chuckles is looking to burn some more beads. Divine has rotated over now to take this back buff. And it looks like both teams just going to disengage.
Yeah, I think they need to as well. Direwolves are just setting up to get a handy shove onto the left-hand side. They got one on the right. Yada was putting a lot of pressure, dragging people over. Chuckles has got a taunt this time. Redoxside has no beats. He has a Gap Shield at least to try and help him. The Cataclysm, that 3-member Cataclysm onto the tower, that might just save their lives. Magnet, so low, son. I think you might be actually picked up here. He's going to live, and he gets out of here. And now, the Team Kamikaze for the re-engage.
And Divine used his rewind there, perhaps a little bit early, but Yada, he spotted out, so the Direwolves are going to know that that one is down. Just Lane is quite low. There's the shield from Melons, bleeds him with the no escape, 3-man no escape. There's a great Petrify from Redox, stops your Chuckles in his track. Kraken doesn't hit anyone. Divine picks up a kill on the lady. Yada's in the back line causing havoc. Down goes Divine, the execute onto Rotten Melons, goes through Tompo's, got to kill Chuckles. Does a ton of damage to Liquid Renegade, gets shielded by Magnet. Tompo comes back in, onto Kiki Omio. Kiki manages to title search very nicely. Tompo manages to get away. The Direwolves need to get out here. Yada's on the most health, not much front line, but they did a nice amount of damage there. A 2-for-2 trade going, actually no, sorry, a 1-for-2 trade going the way of Kamikaze. But Yada, oh my goodness, the cats and the Razor Whip and everything else that he does. Down goes Divide.
He's level 20.
So down goes Redoxide. So that does make it the 2-for-2 trade. I wasn't incorrect. I was just having a moment of ESP.
You were just predicting the future, Husey. Husey predicts the future. Yada's going to get the clean out on that attack speed buff as well, and then he's just going to bail the heck out of there. Be interested to see when Direwolves actually start setting up for the Fire Giant. They have the aggression. It can be a throw, but they can also use it as a bait. If they force TCAM to come in there and they're prepped and they're not taking much damage from the Fire Giant, they'll turn on them, they'll fight them, they'll win, and they'll shove down a Phoenix in probably that left-hand lane because they've got that tower so low, but it'll depend on those minions. So expect the Direwolves to start setting up on that side of the map. Conversely, the next Gold Fury will come up soon, and, well, the Gold Fury, it's actually able to start bringing games back a lot closer. It is the anti-snowball factor now, if you can get it.
Yeah, particularly after, I believe, 25 minutes is when it's at its max of 350 gold. So that's a lot of gold to spread around your team. Speaking of predictions, there's some interesting news coming out today. The Oceanic Pro League is now on your season ticket if you have that in your Smite game. So you can start earning fantasy points from this Oceanic Pro League. So I know a lot of you guys out there in OCE really excited about
next
that.
Weekend.
Yeah, so it starts next weekend. These games don't count, which is good because obviously we've just started to broadcast them now. And yeah, so from next week onwards, you can start earning some fantasy points. Towards this mid lane, though, it's looking like Direwolves want something under this tier 2.
And remember, coming back for next week, if you're looking to pick them, Direwolves will be back to their former glory. They're up against Ivory, I'm pretty sure it was. It's either Ivory or Lord Gaming, and they'll have Richard Castle all the way back from Europe to play Ares instead of Rotten Melons. So keep your eyes out for that one. That's probably a safe pick, but that's all I'm going to give away thus far. We might save more for later on the broadcast, but Laney, look what he's found. He's found Renegade. He's forced to run away.
Yeah, the Osiris is a really good jungler against physical damage heavy teams because he does have that damage mitigation with his passive ability, and you know that allows him to really get in there amongst the powerful physical gods like a Bastet, like a Xipalunke. But I would have preferred to see that in the solo lane rather than the jungle necessarily. I think the Ao Kuang fares a little bit better in that capacity. But Direwolves 5-man grouping in the mid, 5-man grouping from Team Kamikaze, and Direwolves, I think they can really dictate this fight if they want to. Rotten Melons just looking for the opportune moment to blink in. Liquid Renegade is not giving him the chance, but here comes Rotten Melons, 4-man, no escape. Everyone uses their beads except for Magnet, who gets pulled in. Liquid Renegade doing a lot of damage. The Petrify was used there from Redoxide. Renegade getting extremely low. Melons, let's stick him down, but Yada's there as well. The whip doesn't quite connect, but he's killing Redoxide quite heavily. Magnet getting extremely low there as well. Just like he hits him with a branching bowler. Down goes Redoxide to Yada, but Divine picks him up with an auto attack. There's the rewind. It's going to be enough to get him out of here. Tompo going on Kiki Omio, but the damage is real. Kiki gets a kill there. Divine is the only one left. There's the Kraken. Down goes Divine, and this will be a tower for the Direwolves.
Yeah, Direwolves wrapping up a 4-for-1 fight, only managing to finally shut down Yada. So at least that's in Kamikaze's favor, but they've got the numbers here. That might... Is this a fire? This might be a Fire Giant, actually. I like this call because there's only Liquid Renegade up and he doesn't have any burst to steal it. He has sustained brawling power, but Laney has so much damage at this point in time. Just being a Xipalunke with those branching bowlers, they have a lot of sustained damage on towards this one. And the Trident as well, buff onto Kiki Omio when he presses that too. His damage between the Whirlpool and it is really high. They've got this Fire Giant in the bag. There's nothing Liquid Renegade could do. And he had no idea that it was even up and being well, I mean, he knew it was up, but he had no idea that it was being contested. He knows now.
Yeah, he definitely just spotted that one out. One interesting thing I'd like to point out in terms of builds, Yada's gone for the Crusher, so he's going to be doing a lot of damage to towers and Phoenixes, and that's going to help Direwolves really push their advantage now that they've got this Fire Giant. Yada doesn't have it. He was about 5 seconds off spawn before after the Direwolves took it, and now they're looking for another Gold Fury, just really putting a stranglehold on this one, not letting Team Kamikaze get back in it at all.
Yeah, it's just basically saying to Team Kamikaze, this is your way back into the game, not happening. It's not that we really need to secure it to keep the league going. We've got the Fire Giant. It's worth about It's worth approximately 7k gold in stats, depending upon which levels and whatnot you're at. It's worth a little bit more later on. And they're already up 11k. What's more to say? Direwolves are in the driver's seat right now. It's going to be a huge dive where I'd say it has to be Yada goes in solo underneath the tower and just gets CC'd out and killed immediately. Then Team Kamikaze can re-engage, but only if stun burned on him was the chains coming in from Liquid Renegade and Divine stop time. If they burn any ultimates to pick up Yada underneath the tower, especially Cataclysm, Petrify. If Tompo ults him, Tompo can ult him, but I prefer to see Tompo save that for assassinating some of the backline. That is the way back into this game. That's how it's going to go if Team Kamikaze need to win a fight.
Exactly right. We're also coming back to El Chuckles. You know, we talked pre-game about his kill participation, and he's certainly continuing that trend. 17 out of Direwolves' 21 kills he has been a part of. He hasn't gone down yet. He's stayed alive this entire match. And, you know, he's getting my MVP vote at the moment. So for those of you that don't know, after each series we award an MVP of the series. So we see Chuckles going in on Renegade there. There's the Geb shield. And,
he's trying to earn more MVP points. That's what he's trying to earn from you.
Yeah, so he's trying to earn more MVP points. And yeah, so we have a first, second, and third place MVP, and then those give you points, and at the end of the season, the points are tallied up. The winner is the MVP of the series. Melon flicks in with a no escape. There's a nice cracker from Kiki, and Direwolves maybe looking to end.
Magna's already at half health. Rotten Melons was the only one to get ultimate up by that because he's Ares, but they're going to find out Liquid Renegade. That's a huge portion of sustained damage, and the front line trying to go forward into them. Yada's a long way forward. He's quite low, but he's going to find Divine before they can do anything, and then they just burst through Tompo as well. Who cares for those Shibalonke stacks? He's only got 2. They're far enough ahead. They don't need them, and they've got this left-hand Phoenix. They're going to get a middle Phoenix as well. Is there anything that can stop the Direwolves this game?
You're going to need a great fire from Reduxide that frees out about 3 members of the Direwolves to really get a lot of damage, but I don't think it's going to be enough because I think it's going to be too little too late. Reduxide, he used it, he doesn't have it up for another 50 seconds. The damage coming through from Direwolves is going to be too much, and this is going to be game. There it goes. First one of the series going the way of the Direwolves. Team Kamikaze taking another loss, and that is going to be a heavy hit for them moving into the second game.
Yeah, something I'd like to see coming through from the Team Kamikaze. I don't want to see Kronos in the mid lane. It's just, it doesn't have the wave clear that something like a Poseidon has. You saw it at towards the latter stages of the game. The big beefy minions, the slightly stronger ones, were getting through and getting onto towards the towers in those siege scenarios, and that's all that they needed. Kikome was walking forward, whacking the tower once or twice, Laney once or twice. That's all they needed to get towers starting to down and start pressuring Team Kamikaze into scenarios where they needed to fight, and that's what they needed to do. So I don't expect to be seeing Kronos in the mid lane from Divine. They didn't really have the comp for it. There was too much aggression early on. I'd like to see something a little bit different from them. But stat-wise this game, let's take a look across the board. Laney, look at his game. 2, 1, and 15. Only 2 kills. So only 2 stacks on that passive, but 15 assists, man. He was a part of so much for those boys.
And that just wasn't his Darkest Night's ultimate coming out. Towards the mid to late game stages, he was rotating very well for his team. You know, he was slowing them nice with the poison darts, getting some damage in there with the branching bowlers to a lot of people. It's, you know, it's just, he did a tremendous amount of work. Yada, obviously, having a tremendous amount of kills. Chuckles, the kill station. Like, Direwolves across the board really meshed together as they made these roster changes.
Yada, right, get this, the second best person in the game was Laney with 17.5k damage in the game. Yada, you ready for this? 6.5k above that. 2,300, well, not 6.5k, it's about, what is that? It's just over 6k, 2,300 damage. 2,318 damage. Yeah. So that's a lot. That is a lot of damage. The highest person across the entire Kamikaze roster was Redoxide with 13.829k. So he was 10k above the highest member of Kamikaze. You mentioned those stats earlier in the game, where the entire of the Direwolves lineup was ahead of TCAM. They got to lift that in the next game.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll be bringing you that game